Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to a very special episode of Office Hours. Let me take us into the office. Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shell, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar theme to Twitch. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. Today is our Office Hours. This is our live stream, AMA, hangout, news resource sort of stuff. Yeah, come and hang out. Oh, I realize my camera is all sorts of off. Give me a moment. Oh, it's even worse. I was right. Oop. Cameras. Not quite stable. All right. 2 days early, sort of. So for those of you who have been paying attention, I have how to put this? My dad died last Thursday, so I canceled the office hours that day because I wanted to be with my family. I wanted to call my mom, my sister, make sure everything's good. Died very suddenly, but at the same time, very sad, but at the same time, my father was very much of a chase your dreams kind of guy. So I know he would have wanted us to continue on with everything. So I think the family is still kind of, it hasn't hit us yet. I mean, it really hasn't, it hasn't hit my mom. It hasn't really hit my sister. We're just still kind of like in a daze. So I only said that specifically to make a name so long to annoy anyone feel bad. Hopefully you feel bad. Thank you all. Thank you. But, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, my dad wouldn't have wanted me to sit here and go, you know, feel sorry. He would have wanted me to do what I like to do. I like doing this stuff, so. Yeah, I had a hell of a week's sickness than Dad's death. Yep, the world decided to punch me in the dick that day. And it's still coming, so.
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No PPUs.
But you can never, ever take away my space game.
This?
20_10 just resubscribed for 27 months. Pop party.
Thank you so much for that 2010 for that, what was that? That 27 months. You're a very important pub, a very impressive pisser, very neat pedestrian. This is your fault. The reason for tonight. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Oh, thank you, Shingo, man. Thank you. But I'll be back, also for,
You can take away my spaceship.
No fucking way. I have the golden kappa right now?
Space lasers.
No PPUs.
But you can never.
Never.
Ever.
Ever. Or is that just some other kind of kappa that I haven't heard before? Jesus Christ.
MMOR Goat just resubscribed
Oh, it's Captain
for
Richards.
14 months. Hello. Pub cheers.
Thank you so much for that.
Midnight Black SC just gifted 5 subs.
Thank you so much for giving those 5 subs, Midnight. You are a very important pubber, very impressive pisser, very new pedestrian. In fact, let me fix my camera here. This is unacceptable. I keep getting like pushed off the side. Do this.
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Weapons free, y'all.
Drugs.
Let me lock this in real quick.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
There we go. Much better. There's my camera. There you go. Fix it on the fly. And I'm back. Hey, Sea Daddy. Thank you, Midnight Black SC, for giving those subs as well.
Cowboy.
Yeah, apparently. Let me double check. I mean, I've never had the golden kappa before. No. I don't know how my kappa is different from your kappa. Maybe I only had it for a little bit, but...
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
No PPUs.
But you can never,
Never.
ever
Ever.
take away my space.
You know, if you
game.
type a hype train is for golden kappa.
Shempasta just resubscribed for 20 months. Hello, hola, buongiorno, pashindeje, salam, bonjour, zia, bongo, buna, hala, liho, ciao, guten tag, jambo, malo elele, molo, shalom, namaste, 07.
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never,
Never.
ever take away my space game.
Tree_San just resubscribed for 23 months.
Thank you so much, Tree Sen, for that 23 months of support. You are a very important pupper, very impressive pisser, very new pedestrian. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. There we go. Much better. I'm gonna go back to that. Oh, come on.
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No confused.
But you can never,
Never.
ever
Ever.
take away my space game.
Ghost 1800 just resubscribed for 40 months. Best wishes to you and your family.
Thanks so much for that 40 months of support there, Ghost.
Them biddies.
Think of them biddies. There, Midnight Black. It's gonna take a little bit before it comes back. This is just the point of the stream where we just get everything else. Thank you, Nicodemus. That dance made a sub. Oh, really? No. Hey, Astro Nestor, how you doing? I'm waiting for it. And then Teresa just dropped a bunch of stuff, so we gotta we gotta do this. Hold on. Wait for it. Hold. There's a far too long of a biddies, but yeah, I gotta fix that.
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can never,
Never.
ever
Ever.
take away my space game.
Doc Platypus just resubscribed for 10 months. You are
Thank you,
back
Doc
just in
Platypus.
time. RX1 is finally in game.
The X1 is finally in game? What? Did someone check the temperature of hell?
_San just gifted 5 subs.
Thank you so much for gifting those 5 subs there. Teresa, and you're all very important publishers, very impressive business, very big pedestrians. This is your fault. The reason we're drinking night. Trust and cheers in chat, y'all. Trust and cheers. Ugh. Hell, how cold is it supposed to be in Texas? Yeah, this is hell. Goddamn. CIG actually released the X1. Next release the G12. It's the last of the it's the last of the no excuse. Yeah, I've been kind of in and out. I've been mostly dealing with family stuff. I'm doing okay. There is another. I mean, yeah, like really, as I've said many times, they've done biddies there, Vector Parallax. We're in a weird kind of situation where I think the only excuses CIG has left in terms of like the only ships they don't have an excuse for is the G12. Like the X1 and the G12 are the last two. And the reason why the G12 is because they literally released the links this year. They know how to do a luxury rover and it's Origin, so they know how to do it. It's tiny, so the Ranger is an excuse. There is an excuse for the Ranger, and I will accept the excuse for the Ranger. You don't have to, but I do, because as weird as this is going to sound, there is an excuse for not having a for not doing it because they don't have the wheels and like bike mechanics yet. I think CIG is going to release the Ranger with alongside another bike of some kind when they do it. The hover bike they already have excuses for. Like there's no excuse for that. They already have those in game. So
but you can
never, ever
take away my space game.
A terrible bishop just resubscribed for 7 months. Hey Paul, glad you're back, man. Sorry to hear about your week.
Thanks, Terrible Bishop. That's all right. I mean, it's not all right, but thank you for that. Ugh. I realize my camera's a little off because I'm stupid. And this is supposed to be where the camera's supposed to be. I'll probably just move it up a little bit more like that. Out of all the 40K Primarchs still missing, who do you think is the next two to come back with the setting will be? Russ and Fulgrim. Right? Fulgrim's the pretty boy. Am I right with that one? Emperor's Children. Thank you, old boy. Fulgrim is almost certainly coming in because they need to have each Chaos God needs their Marine Legion. So, and of course, because Space Marines get their equal attention cake, if Fulgrim comes back, then Russ has to come back. And there's really no other kind of Marine. There's no Marines that have a living Primarch that that are Codex divergent. Because Sanguinius is dead. And that's really the other one. Dark Angels, Space Wolves, and Blood Angels. Grax is still alive. He could come back, but... Warhammer 40K or regular Warhammer? They did have Warhammer online for a while. It was pretty good. Holy fuck!
Vector Parallax just gifted 25 subs.
Thank you so much there, Vector Parallax, for that 25 subs, you absolute fucking madman. And Ed J, thank you so much for that $20 on YouTube. I'm subscribed to like 10 channels and you're one of them. Wish you and everyone in the chat a happy, healthy life. Thank you, Ed J. Thank you. God fucking damn, Vector Parallax. Death to ads indeed. Oh, speaking of which, let me see if I can't do this right. If I can do this right. I have an update because, as usual, when I'm stressed, I turn to stress de-stressors, and one of my de-stressors is painting.
Hey, a tip!
Ed J super chatted $20. I'm subscribed to like 10 channels and you're one of them. Wish you and everybody in the chat a happy and healthy life. 07.
True happiness is a belt-fed weapon. Thank y'all. Yeah, so I have them biddies. Thank you for them
We
biddies.
have a family tradition. Take a shot of wild turkey on me.
Thank you so much, Doc Platypus. I will when I get one. Are heavy bolters good again? I don't fucking know. You would know that more than I would, Iris. They're okay, I guess, for anti-infantry weapons. But, like, assault intercessors are just cool as shit. So it's like, why not? They chunky boys with big guns. Hard for me to tell that screen is a dark green or is it a black. It's a green. It's a light green, actually. Are you talking about it's a black. I know, it looks almost like a dark green, but that's because if you look at the gun is green, but you can see it's still kind of keyed out. But the actual, kind of see it better, like the actual armor is I don't know how much you heard of that, but would not. I've played in 3. I've played 10th edition like twice. So I don't know. So yeah, I that's my custom chapter. I've bounced around on the name. The idea is that they're heavily inspired by the ravens of Odin. So the founders are Hugin and Mugen, two brothers. And so I've bounced around with the idea, and I'm kind of sitting on the idea of their background lore being they were originally supposed to be Space Wolves successors. They're part of the unnumbered sons of Gilliman. And instead of joining, there's something went wrong, and instead of becoming Space Wolves successors, they kind of decided to just be their own thing. So I guess technically they're Ultramarine successor. Squidmore painting is really, really good. I am nowhere near any of those. Yeah, third was fun. That was the edition I got into. So second or third, I can't remember which one. Whichever one introduced to the Dark Eldar. It wasn't. I had Dark Angels, but a friend, the person I always played against had Dark Eldar. Have you and Loken rescheduled Rogue Trader? Yeah, it's gonna happen on Friday. We're moving some stuff around. So Wednesday, tomorrow I'm gonna be streaming again, but I'll be doing something different. So. Yeah, so it's probably third edition. Doesn't he look so good with his haircut? I do look good with my haircut. The thing is that, like, I don't like having long hair because I don't really have long hair. And as you can see, like, my hair is actually black or brown, dark brown. You can kind of see that in my, when I going to get it cut, because you can kind of see the roots a little bit more. You can also see it in my beard. But I just didn't have time to get my hair cut. It was like ironically, when my dad died, it was like, I have time now. I can go get my hair cut and do other things other than stream. So. Curious, what do you think is less likely to be lost when the new patch hits in the game? In-game purchased ships or UAC? UAC? UEC? You mean? Thank you, Captain. I've been a son of Sanguinius since third before they became the poster boys. Nice, yeah. AUEC. Okay, that's what you're trying to say. Hey, Nightcop. I don't know. I think they probably more likely wipe the AUEC than the ships. Ultra auto cannons or or bot ships, Paul. So yeah, I'm kind of behind on a lot of news for Star Citizen because I haven't really been focusing on it a lot, and as a result of everything that happened last week, both being sick and my dad dying, I really haven't had a chance to kind of go through and do a bunch of stuff. I was able to see some updates for 3.22, which was interesting. And I also saw about the day before, which is even more weird and interesting. Did they upload the full broadcast recently? They did, didn't they? Thanks, Link. There's new clothes to the PTU. That's awesome. Thanks, y'all. I only bring it up as an explanation as to, like, I had a bad week, y'all. Because I know someone somewhere is sitting there being like, where the fuck has Paul been? It's like, I've had the mother of all weeks. They already renamed a new company the day before devs. They've already skipped into a new company. What a bunch of fucking scammers. Yeah, I'm not gonna go in too depth for it, but like this is an example of like whenever someone calls Star Citizen a scam, I'm just gonna point to Fantastic from now on and be like, this is a fucking scam. Like, again, if Star Citizen's a scam, it's the worst scam in the history of scams because they pay people to do work. Fantastic asset flips, you know, a couple $1,000, and then codes in some interesting stuff on UE5, makes interesting trailers that are easy to, or not easy, but like, you know, they bang out in a couple of months, and then they skip town. Like, Jesus Christ. They use volunteers too, yeah. They legitimately, yesterday, I think, said that they were shutting down 4 days after release. Scam? What is scam? Thank you, Pandemonium. I'm having a better week, but it's still a bad week. Luckily, I get paid on Friday for both Twitch and my job, and I'll probably get double paid because that's how because my job doesn't they pay right before the holidays, right at the end of the holidays, because I don't have anybody over the holidays to give it to me on the 1st. So. Yeah, you can't buy it anymore because Steam took it down. Because Valve took it down. They didn't take it down. Valve took it down. And when Valve took it down, that's when they went, oh, well, we should probably try to return people's money. Because they have a publisher from New Zealand who is on the hook for all of this. Oh yeah, I saw people comparing them to the Call of Duty trailers. The publisher's the shell company. They're headquartered out of New Zealand. They can't find them in New Zealand. Oh shit. Oh fuck. I mean, I think, in all honesty, I think everyone who purchased it kind of, I'm gonna say, like, all of the news and the kind of YouTube sphere and gaming sphere I'm part of knew it was a scam when it released. A lot of people bought it going, yeah, it's a scam. I'm gonna buy it, but it's a scam, just so I can like experience this scam. What's their name in New Zealand? I'll look it up real quick. If their account is still around, they may have already shut down their account. Mytona, Matoya. They have a website. About us. They're apparently, they don't have any, there's hiring apparently, but they don't have a physical address. Just yesterday, they had an update for Cooking Diary. Was it 2022? No, 2023. Looking through some of their website right now. They're hiring remote and Bangkok. So even though they're hiring, they have remote in Bangkok, but they're out of New Zealand, according to their website. In the day before threads, I saw people trying to say Star Citizen isn't on Steam because of 2-hour refund window Steam has. Star Citizen has a month return policy. A lot of people don't know that. You can return Star Citizen for whatever reason for a month. And besides, Star Citizen is considered an early access game, so Steam has different rules for that, where it's like you can be at any time with an early access game and get it returned. You'll ask around if you're from Maverick, if you're from New Zealand. Yeah, it's definitely, it's like MYTONA, Mytona. Hey, Ox. I mean, I think Star Citizen will eventually go on Steam. I don't think it'll go on Steam for a while, though. I think Star Citizen will have to hit beta or probably even live before it hits goes onto there. Because, like, that's the other thing. Star Citizen or Squadron 42 is 100% going to be released not on any platform at first. It will have the CIG patcher. I think it's called Robert Space Industries, or it might be called Cloud Imperium Games. Can't remember the name of it. The launcher is not Star Citizen. It says something else. Found it. The building even has a sign out front of the address here. In the front of the address here. I'll give feedback when I know more. Awesome. Good to find, Maverick. You might want to inform local authorities that they may try that company may be trying to skip town with lots of debt. Well, I mean, remember when people thought that they found the offices of Hello Games that were empty, and it was like a big thing. So RSI launcher, thank you. The RSI launcher. So the RSI launcher will have, when Squadron 42 comes out, it will have two little probably tabs, one for Star Citizen, one for Squadron 42. And you'll just download the Squadron 42 launcher, and then you'll be able to play. You'll download Squadron 42 on the Squadron 42 portion of the launcher, and you'll be able to play it. But that is 100% advertising right there. Because they'll say, you can get Squadron 42. What's this Star Citizen? You know? Ayo, Lefty. So that's what's definitely going to happen. And I think CIG would do well to put Star Citizen and Squadron 42 on Steam and Epic and any other platform they can go to after they think they've reached saturation for the launch of the game. Because I do think Star Citizen or Squadron 42 will not have a box office release. I think Squadron 42 come out, and it'll sell well, it'll do well, but it won't do fantastic. It's not going to do Call of Duty numbers. I think it's probably going to end up being more similar to Baldur's Gate 3, where like the word of mouth spreads if it's good, and it'll eventually roll, and eventually people will pick it up. But after it reaches its sort of peak saturation, then CIG will probably work with Steam, but at that point they'll actually have more negotiation, because even though you have to give 30% to Gabe, you don't always have to give 30% to Gabe. You can negotiate contracts for better contracts if you have good leverage. So I mean, all they're going to do on Squadron 42, well, is they'll put Squadron 42 up, which will just give you a link to it'll just download the launcher and then launch the launcher for you. That's all it's going to be. You know how I know this? I've played enough games on Steam where that's just it. like Total War, that's what it is. You just have a launcher that has all of the Total Wars on it that are just unlocked based off of your purchases on Steam. And Warframe does the same thing, like all the UB games, soft games do. Yeah, like they all do the exact same fucking thing. Hey, O'Neill. Jack O'Neill. Has great leverage. Bagpipes! Yes. You mean the hymn of the UEE Navy? Because that's apparently the hymn of the UEE fucking Navy that has lyrics. With 2 L's. I like bagpipes, almost just like my spaceships. CIG is too good. God damn. I don't have the hymn. Of course I won't, because I don't have it. Oh, and Yubi's here. Be nice to my games. Yeah, but don't tell me there isn't just a launcher for the launcher. That's recorders. It's just the same hymn, but done like that. The My Heart Will Go On meme. So 3.22 tomorrow? I don't know. I think the latest we'll see it release is the 21st. Or maybe the 20th. But I haven't played 3.22, so I don't know how good it is or how stable it is. The DC meme channel? Yeah, that's it. Nielsen Center. Okay. And they have multiple games in their name, so... PGU was going great last time I was on it? Okay. Wait, you read the Squad 42 story. You read the Squad 42. How do you not know the hymn words? If not made them up, if not make them up, they make it lore. I don't know if it's in the game. Like, I haven't read the script word for word. I've just heard the audio, and I've read some of the story. It's very close to Montoya. It is very close to Montoya. I actually wanted to say that at first. One of the things that's been interesting to see is when the Squadron 42 trailer released, and people were like, "God damn, this is actually good." I wanted to just like scream at people, be like, "I've been fucking telling you." like you think I've been fucking crazy? Do you think I've just been lying this entire time when I said I had access to all this shit because CIG kept screwing up and releasing it on accident? Or like, it's been out there. Yes, fuck off, C Daddy. Yes, both. Only a little crazy. I assumed you were insane. God damn it. Paul and the Cassandra truth. Yeah, you might as well fucking call me Cassandra. To be fair, I didn't know about the bagpipes until those happened. Cassandra. What I will say, based off of what I know, I have high hopes for the game. Based off of the direction that CIG has talked about, where they want to go with it in terms of like development and everything, where they're developing it, based off the acting and the storylines. Will I sit here and tell you it's, you know, a cinematic or like a video game masterpiece? Fuck no. Like, not in a goddamn million years will I say it's going to be the perfect game. That's fucking insanity. And I won't tell you that the story is great or anything, but I will say that what I know of the story is interesting, and the way they seem to want to plot it is good. It's a solid action adventure game. And then the longer CIG develops it, the more CIG seems to want to extend it. Because I've heard rumors of like 120 hours to finish the goddamn game. And I'm like, CIG, calm the fuck down. Okay? Chill. Chill. All right? Calm. What the fuck? Nobody has that time. It's action movie tropes, which might still be fun. Tropes aren't always bad. It's got definitely some action movie tropes. So like a popcorn military action game, just like don't think too hard kind of deal. Nah. I like to. I described it before Marvel sucked. I described it as a solid mid-level Marvel movie in terms of writing. Is it as campy as Wing Commander? No. That's not nearly as campy as Wing Commander. The villains can camp, though. There is some villainish camp goes on, which is fun. But would it compare the writing to Mass Effect 2? No. I mean, it's hard to put into words because I have only seen pieces. Like I've heard pieces. I've seen like the writing in pieces and like the mission like stuff. I mean, like, I would say the writing is on par with and this is me fluffing the shit out of Dave Haddock here. But I'd say it's on par with like a good season of Boardwalk Empire. You know, hey, Galactic Elf. I just thought, because a lot of the actors who are in Squadron 42 were in Boardwalk Empire. Like a lot of them. There's a fucking lot of them who are in Boardwalk Empire. Like there are great comedic characters. There's a lot of levity in the game. It's not just all seriousness, but it picks its moments. There's definitely stakes that you and it's like a Chris Roberts game. You got to make some fucking choices, and those choices ain't going to be easy. And the way that CIG seems to want to develop the game is by I know what you mean, but my friend hasn't seen Boardwalk Empire. So the whole story has a lot of mystery to it. A lot of what you're doing in the story is around separate individual plots which involve something is happening, investigate something, or find out more about this, and it all curtails into the story. Like they all find their way into the story in one way or another. And so it's a lot of like problem solving, which is, you know, good game design in that kind of sense. It's like you as a player are given the task of solving problems which you don't have all the answers to. And by playing the game, you have those answers. Sounds like Myst. It's not really like Myst. Myst doesn't have space fighter combat. The stream is a scam. Thanks, Jabberwocky. Is it longer than new Call of Duty? Yes, it's longer than Chris Judge's or was it? Yeah, Christopher Judge. Christopher Judge's speeches at the Game Awards, the VGAs. it has all of the DNA of a Wing Commander game. So if those of you who want to play a Wing Commander game, it has all that DNA. But it has other aspects to it. It's definitely an evolution of the Wing Commander genre. And the way I did like describe it in terms of the way that CIG seems to want to make the gameplay is it feels like in some missions you've gone 12 rounds in a prize fight and you finally knocked out the bad guy and knocked out your opponent, and then 3 more opponents show up. And it's not a setup for like, oh, you're going to get saved. No, 3 more opponents show up of the same size. Good luck. Go fuck yourself. Like, that's impressive. That was a long-ass speech. It's definitely Chris Roberts played way too much. Chris Roberts and the development team at Squadron 4 at CIG just played way too much Dark Souls and said, yes, but what if we did this in a space fighter and there are no save points? Jaded Cynic is quoting. Training Day? Is that quote from? Pulp Fiction, right. Did you ever think you'd see Teal'c roast Call of Duty? I did not see that. That was not on my 2023 bingo card. So, enough of me spoiling Squadron 42, which I'm not really. I'm trying to more set the. I'm trying to give you like the boilerplate, the kind of the background information to kind of give you the context of what the game's going to be without giving spoilers. Because like I know the full fucking plot in terms of like the high level story, and I don't know how I feel about it. That's all I'll say. If it hasn't changed since I heard it, I don't know how I feel about it. So, the blurb on the back of the box, yeah. Chris probably changed it when he heard you ruined it for yourself. To be fair, when I saw it, how to put this? Sorry, I'm watching something real quickly. It's just kind of popped up on my feed. But, hey, Stanton Security Logistics Federation. The word blurb has fallen out of use too much. It's such a good word. It is such a good word. Armin Strong, the once and future senator. Yes. Oh, gosh, how to put it? When I heard it, it was years ago. It was several years ago. So, like, it could have easily changed. Like back then, the running idea, which we had heard from Aaron Roberts, was that the game was going to be 20 hours long and the full game was going to be 40. Which to me is the good sweet spot. 20 hours of gameplay is a lot of fucking gameplay. That's like, 2 or 3 stream sessions of it. If you wanted to do full 40, you'd have to like a week of gameplay. But Oh, for sure. So you just put it through several new iterations by now. Oh, yeah. So. Y'all know how many of other games has he fallen in love with and garnered inspiration from? Now he's had plenty of time. I don't think the story has changed much because we haven't seen or heard Mark Hamill going back for pickup shots. So if Mark Hamill hasn't come back for pickup shots, and none of the major actors have, except for, as far as we know, John Rhys Davies, that means that mostly what we've seen is minor actor pickups and other things like that. So I thought I was over super long games, then BG3 entered your life. Well, BG3 is long because it has so many options, so many different ways of tackling it. And to a degree, quite honestly, I think that's a good comparison. Because that's the way that Squadron 42 is developed. If I was to explain to you the gameplay of Squadron 42, the gameplay of Squadron 42 is you have objectives that you have to achieve, but the means upon which achieving those objectives are entirely up to you. The game does not force you to do one or another. I think generally it doesn't. So you have options. You can go in the guns blazing. You can sneak. You can do a combination of the two. You can hack your way in. There's just different ways of going in. And the reason why CIG is developing it like that is for replayability. I mean, yeah, it helps that a lot of the developers built the original fucking Crysis. So it's a similar kind of idea. So we can have a fake bake sale and put sleeping pills in the cakes and then NPCs go to sleep. I don't think it's that intense. Like I'm not gonna say it goes full BG3, but it goes pretty like in that direction. Stealth means no witnesses. Yeah. But like, for instance, if you listen to the developer commentary of the vertical slice that they showed off for Squadron 42, they explain like the mission that they had, you could do in different ways. You could do it by not killing a single person or killing very few people, and just doing it stealthily. I think you can probably do non-lethal takedowns now, so.
Silky68 just resubscribed for 39 months. Tuesday office hours? Yes.
Yes! Just for today. Because I'm kind of falling behind. Though I do want to kind of increase my amount of streaming a little bit more too, just to kind of get that out there. Oh, you mean streamer stealth run? Okay, if no one's alive to trigger alarm, it's still stealthy. And there'll be different like avenues and approaches you can make for each achievement or each location, which will give you different actions and different responses and that kind of thing. That's generally the idea. Now, does that mean there's different endings? No. I'm gonna spoil this right now. Do not sit here and think you're going to get multiple unique endings for Squadron 42. There will be an ending that everyone will have the same ending. There may be the fuck was that? That was partying, Anthony Wolf. So no, I'm not in Christmas break until next week. So. Well, you got to remember that Squadron 42 is game 1 of 3. So it has to have, there is going to be, it would be as if you we're completing a mission and then it'll roll on to the next mission, but they have to kind of make it more of a kind of an epic ending and then roll into the next mission. I think, didn't Wing Commander all have one ending? I mean, the original Wing Commander had multiple endings, but didn't most Wing Commanders have like the same ending, but it was just different flavors? So when the leaks happened, what compelled you to read it and continue reading it? So I didn't read the leaks originally. I just kind of was curious as to what was, how many missions there were going to be when the first, like the mission titles were released. And I didn't realize they were also summaries, and by that point it was already too much. Wasn't Metal Gear something different the second game you imported your saves from the first one? Possibly, yeah. We're still going to be able to roll our character from Squad 42 to the PU? Not a clue. That was the original plan, so, but it's, you know. I have a simple question. I couldn't find the definite answer on the internet. Does Javelin have size 8 or size 7, no, size 9 main guns? Size 8, as far as as far as I think. Because the guns that are on the side that all the, like the broadside cannons, those are all size 7. Yeah, size 8s. Yeah, there are 14 size 7s on the Javelin. So that's 14, 7 on each side, I want to say. That's uneven. Oh, and each of those size 7 guns also has size 5s on top, I want to say. Or is it might be 14 size 7, dual size 7. So it could be 7 on each side. So a total of 28 size 7s. Those are size 5s, or size 4s. See that he's right. Size 4s on top. And the top and bottom turrets, those are size 8s. So that's 4 size 8s on that thing, too. No, they're not modular. They're bespoke. It may just be the size jump, because like size 9 is the railgun. Like I think the Idris railgun's a size 9 or a size 10. So. No, you cannot solo a Jav, no. There's 7 double turrets total for the size 7s. 2 single turrets, so 8s, two single turrets for size 8s according to the wiki. Lower and rear, yeah. Size 10 is the Idris Medic gun, okay. So. I can solo it. I can take him, strap me to the ion, and fire me towards it. Yeah, Jav has size 12 torpedoes. Like, in context, the Javelin is a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar spaceship. They're fucking huge, and there are not that many of them in the verse. By not that many, I mean like 24, probably, maybe 50 total. I can fix her. Puts pot on head, let me solo her. Hey, Paul, have you seen the Star Citizen turret hot rod video? I haven't, no. There are legitimately what is it? There are legitimately what is it? There are legitimately javelins designed for planetary bombardment. At least in lore. That might change, but you know. Idris's, there's a lot more, which kind of makes me because it's named after systems. My thought is, there are only like 32 systems in the UEE. There can't be just 32 fucking Idrises on active duty. There has to be more than that. But they're named after the systems, which doesn't make any sense to me. Hey, Foxbat. But again, Nighthawk, to be fair, Idrises are much older than javelins. You know, we're talking almost 500 years old. There's been a lot of Idrises that have been built out over the last 500 years. There's also been a lot of javelins, just not nearly as many. CIG, less sensible in naming systems than the USN. What's the prettiest IRL plane you know? Aardvark. Those who know. Yeah, DoD sucks so hard at naming that other people name stuff that sticks better. Like no one calls it the A-10 Warthog. No one calls it the A-10 Lightning II. Or is it was supposed to be? Or Thunderbolt 2 or whatever. Yes, I love me some F-111, baby. Is it the Thunderbolt 2? Lightning 2 is the F-35, right? Thunderbolt 2 is the A-1. A-10, yeah. How many Admiral's Beach Javs again? Only one. And it was technically a captain who did it, but... The new jug. They buffed the health on the Super Hornet's nose turret. They buffed the turret, the Super Hornet, or not the Super Hornet, the Hornet in general. That's part of what we're gonna do it. Call it the Mudhead then? Yeah. I mean, so like the F-15 is the only one, the Eagle is the only one that's stuck that I know of. Because the F-16, no one calls it by its actual name. Everyone calls it a Viper. And then, I guess the Raptor, the F-22 Raptor is still the same. And of course the A-10 Warthog. Depends on the bug, because the Hornet got buffed a lot for the master modes, which we'll talk about here in a moment. As far as I know, most F-16 pilots call them Vipers, not Falcons. No one calls it the Fighting Falcon. Everyone calls it the Viper. Oh, that sucks. The U.S. Hornet's called the Bug? Oh, I don't know. Yes, F-111 Aardvark, baby. Phantom, who needs guns? I just love the story of the F-15. The F-15 story is just iconic because the F-4 sucked. And because the F-4 sucked, they needed to build a new plane that would actually dogfight. And because they were getting their ass kicked in Vietnam by older. And then it was the Soviet Union came out with the MiG-35? I can't remember the name of it. The Foxbat. The Foxbat. MiG-25 Foxbat. And everyone lost their fucking mind because they thought because everyone thought that the U.S. was behind in like dogfighting technology, so they panicked and dumped billions of dollars into developing the F-15. And once they finally captured a Foxbat, they realized this is not nearly as good as we thought it was, because no one knew that the Foxbat was developed as a panic response to the U.S. building a supersonic bomber that they never built. Because they're like, we need something that catches the bomber, because it was an interceptor, not a dogfighter. So they built a straight up dogfighter to respond to an interceptor that looked scary. So the U.S. basically built the most advanced airplane that had ever existed, advanced dogfighter that had ever existed, because they panicked. Yeah. The F-4 was doing fine, but the F-4 was not as good of a dogfighter as it. They had to retrain on how to use the F-4 because the F-4 was slower, or because it was not slower, because it was too fast, if I remember correctly. It didn't perform well at slow speeds that it needed to, the speeds it needed to go at, and at the altitude it needed to perform at to dogfight. So they had to redesign the F-4. They gave it gun pods to give it guns, and it got better, but it still wasn't a good dogfighting platform. And that's when they developed the F-15. I mean, was this the same supersonic bomber that was specifically named as prohibited from carrying nuclear bombs in a treaty? Possibly, I don't remember it. In fact, we were talking about this in an earlier episode, but the F-4, I can tell you exactly what the Avenger is. It's an F-4. the Aegis Avenger is the equivalent would be an F4, I think. A fucking solid airframe that works with what it does and is pretty good at what it does, but is outclassed by a lot of other ships that do a much better job. Yeah, because the Foxbat was far too fucking heavy. And it matches because, hey, rock and stone. Now, the F-35 is just overkill. Well, I mean, the U.S. built the F-22, which no one has been able to counter, ever. And so then they proceed to say this is old technology and then build the F-35. But even in lore, it kind of works like an F-4 because, well, of course, you don't see police using F-4 Phantoms, but like pretty much every country that has access to an F-4 uses an F-4. Like Iran has F-4s. I think a lot of Southeast Asian countries have F-4s that they still use. I think Japan still uses F-4s. South Korea still uses F-4s. I'd have to look at the list, but I can imagine like a large amount of Southeast Asian countries and I want to say possibly even like India and Pakistan use F-4s. Like they're still actively being used because they fucking work. Are they the most advanced thing ever? No, but if you want to drop a fucking bomb, you got a fucking bomb and they go real fucking fast. Germany just recently, they replaced F-4s with Tornadoes. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. The Sherman's still being used. They've modernized the fucking Sherman. Sure. Steel Rain Brothers. Hey, how's it going there? Welcome everyone from Locust Stream. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here from the AstroPub, your space bar theme Twitch. Sit back, relax, go show a show, got a good one for you. If it isn't Logan Plays, my most watched Twitch streamer this year. Yeah, I watch Twitch. I don't watch it a lot, but when I do, I have very specific people I watch. Having fun there? Always, Minecraft bros, always. Welcome to a special edition of the Office Hours. This is where we kind of go through, we just kind of hang out and talk, but we also look at the news and kind of updates for lore and stuff like that. Logan and I are going to be taking on Rogue Trader together. Lol, you're my most watched Twitch streamer. That is humble, Drycon. Honestly, the fact that anyone fucking watches my crazy ass is insane. Loken also watched me, apparently. I saw his review, which is awesome. Thank you, my buddy. Thank you, my brother. Ad's not bad this time. I'm glad. Recap said, I watched 364 days of Twitch. Then 2 minutes of ads the moment we arrived for the raid. Oh, that sucks, Mukio Wessels. It's an auto timer, so. I'll wait for everyone to come back. Don't talk about the German Air Force. It's shameful. You didn't get ads when you joined? I don't know. Welcome back, everybody, by the way. Sorry about that ad timer. My name is Paul Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space partner here at the AstroPub. Welcome to the Office Hours. This is a special edition of the Office Hours where I do stream talk about lore, news, and other stuff for Star Citizen. We just hang out and talk about it. Okay, so pretty recently, the German Air Force decommissioned Info. We're talking about real-life versions of Star Citizen ships, and I came to the realization that the Avenger is the F4 Phantom. Ads are necessary evil for us non-sub cheek seats. Well, it's not even like Twitch would, if I didn't run ads in a specific schedule, Twitch would run ads for you anyways. And they do the most stupid ads. So I tried to space it out so it's like only a couple of minutes every 30 minutes or so. So I'm terrible at flying. I'm not a pilot. I am a pilot, but not a pilot. Hey, Hankin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm flying.
You get some even crazy ones. Yeah, what time is it for there over there, 11:55 for here in Japan? It's like butt crack early in the morning over there. All right. Oh, so it's actually like not butt crack early. It's just late in the afternoon. Interesting. But it's like 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, right? Have a good night there, Fizzle.
So what happened since the last time we talked about Salvage? So the last time we talked about it, it was about the prototypes that we were doing with the entities spawned from the entire piece, so the thousands and thousands of entities.
We had to reconsider our approach quite a lot because it was apparent from the prototype that several aspects of it weren't really going to work the way we wanted to.
With the demo failing, or basically showing us the limits of our engine, which was the entity count, by showcasing that it takes a really long time to spawn all the entities that would fit the size of an 890 jump.
We also had to reconsider some things because we wanted to get this in players' hands as soon as possible. So that means making a few adjustments to the scope.
We were asked to come up with a solution by end of this year, which is structural salvage.
Structural salvage is breaking apart various ships in order to break down the
hull munching. I will refuse to call it structural salvage. You munch the hull because it's more sexual and thus more funny.
pieces into construction material, which then you can sell. So it's just removing stuff from the persistent database.
So one of the challenges of developing a live game like Star Citizen is that we have to constantly be weighing up trying to perfect a feature, which could take years, or trying to get something playable in players' hands so that we can start getting feedback from it and learning from it and figuring out how it fits in with the rest of the game.
So it was very important for us that we get some version of it out this year. It's not the full version yet, but it's a good first step that allows us to test the feature and close the ships that we already have, that are the Vulture and the Reclaimer.
The new Vulture gameplay builds on what we already have. The idea is that you'll approach a wreck.
We want to encourage you to use the hull scraping first, so you don't lose the RMC in the process.
Which is higher value per SEU than construction materials. So the Vulture is equipped with a resonance field, which allows you to charge up energy on the target. Assuming that it's still in one piece, if you've not already blown it up with guns or missiles or something.
Sonic cannon? Okay.
You'll have to fracture it first.
A fracture field is built up between the arms, but it's also projected outwards,
which will break it down into various parts.
We wanted to make sure that the resonance field wasn't going to create opportunities for griefing, so we've taken the precautions a step further from hull scraping, which requires that the target's shields are off, to structural salvage requiring that the ship's power is entirely off. So it'll be quite hard to use that offensively unless you find a way to disable the target's power plant.
And then
I like the sonic cannon. This pleases Slanesh.
you switch to the disintegration mode, which then disintegrates those parts and draws them into your salvage ship as construction material.
Then into the grinder and then into the internal storage, and from there you can then move it out through the filler station into the cargo grid.
The internal storage is one of the great additions we've made here.
What that is basically a temporary storage between you gathering the material and you putting the material into cargo boxes.
You have more space inside of your ship, so when you now go back to the filler stations, instead of the material just being stored in the filler station, you now draw from this pool of internal storage.
That is slightly bigger than the actual cargo capacity of the Vulture and the Reclaimer, so you can basically fill up your ship first. While it is still filling, while it is partly full, or when it is full, you have someone else or yourself go down to the filler station and basically convert everything or all the resources that you have inside the internal storage into the cargo boxes. The boxes come out automatically, so they deplete the internal storage and you will be able to move those boxes around on the cargo grid.
Which does really help with the player experience of the Vulture. A lot of people were saying was problematic because there was a lot of getting up from the seat, going back, and then going back to the pilot's seat again. So
yeah, because it's not a fucking one-person ship, it's a two-person ship at that point.
This is an improvement there. Once you've essentially got all of the stuff out of the filler stations, you'll be able to fly them somewhere and sell them.
The Reclaimer gameplay is very similar to that of the Vulture, except that it's all done by the claw operator, who is the co-pilot seat.
You may notice that the claw of the Reclaimer will look different. I think the art team did a really good job there.
So we got.
I'm gonna go on a limb here, and this is gonna sound like coping, but it really isn't. I like the idea of using sonic vibrations to break up a ship hull. That actually kind of fucking works. Like, strange, but it fucking works, and it's a unique kind of sci-fi aesthetic that I kind of like. I kind of like it. It's still a claw, it's just a different type of claw. It's the straw. Yeah. Because it's like how many fucking like video game sci-fi games that have sonic weaponry in them? Like, the only thing that I can think of that's somewhat mainstream are sonic weapons in like 40K. And maybe like some like Sonic itself, like Sonic the Hedgehog sort of thing. Like, yeah. And I don't mind the claw turning into more of a straw, becoming kind of like a, because that makes more sense. So sonic guns for fighters when? I don't know. Yeah, Dune has sonic weapons, but that's like really old. Doctor Who does, yeah, it's true. The guns from the 1980s Dune, okay. I mean, Star Citizen is kind of an homage to 80s sci-fi, so that tracks too. That's a fucking lie. There is sound in space. It's just there's no median for it to pass through. But you can use sound waves, similar way.
Got the request to start looking at the structural salvage feature support. Yeah, the feature team reached out to us and explained to us what they wanted to do and how it was all going to work.
Seismic charge, yeah, there we go.
And obviously that means that from our point of view, there's a few things we needed to do. It's always had this kind of great big claw underneath it, underslung under the cab. And now was the time that we were going to look at it and kind of make that nice kind of feature.
It's not really a sonic wave as much as it's like a vibration. It's like physically vibrating the ship.
Of the ship actually function.
So now we have the gameplay defined and redesign or revisualize the claw.
We didn't want to just kind of start from scratch. We wanted to take the essence of the original, but rework it to a way that now made sense with how the actual feature works as a whole. One of the things we wanted to do was make sure that the claw was in the player view when you were sat in the operator seat. And because of that, we tried a few different options out with the claw kind of like facing forward originally, and then we kind of had it facing up.
We wanted to have the hand of the claws actually upward facing so that we have it easier accessible by the tractor beam gunners on the reclaimer so they can feed into the hand. But we realized with the updated position that is more forward facing, it makes more sense because we weirdly navigate that the hand is below it. And with the tractor beam, it still works.
Cannon. Yeah, it's a giant dildo.
You will no doubt have noticed that we're no longer calling this feature munching, and that's because we just didn't have the bandwidth to support an actual physical munching action of the claw.
On the original, it was like claw that would rip things apart. Now the feature isn't working like that.
So now it acts as the field emitter for the resonance and disintegration field.
You can still start with...
It's not really sonic, okay? It's resonance cannon. It literally vibrates its target.
Hull scraping, and we highly encourage you to actually do that so that you get the RMC, which we will increase in value. So it will be worth your time to actually do the extra step. And claw will activate the resonance field or fracture field of the claw, and the claw operator then needs to communicate with the pilot to bring the claw into the position of the target that you want to fracture. Once the target is in the fracture field of the claw operator will press a button, a timer will run down, and the ship that is affected by it will break into pieces.
Currently, you're...
Because yeah, like what it's designed to do is to shatter, to vibrate it so quickly that it just breaks. So instead of it exploding, which would cause pieces to fly everywhere in space, it just snaps. Which is kind of cool.
You're not able to move the claw around, but the remote turrets do have tractor beams on them.
Not only you can hold the objects or rotate the objects with the tractor beams, you can now also pull the objects into the resonance field or into the disintegration field.
The idea is that you use the tractor beams to grab any drifting pieces and move them into the field.
And the next step then is actually converting those pieces that you just created into the resources that you want to gather. And for that, the claw operator will switch into the disintegration mode. Again, you press a button, the ship is basically heated up and then converted into a material.
We needed a way of collecting all that material, and that's where we decided to take some inspiration from what we did on the Vulture. Between these kind of big emitters, we were still sucking in all this material, and that material was then being processed and ground up and kind of sent down to the main ship itself.
And then directly moved into the internal storage of the reclaimer.
The filler stations in the reclaimer have been changed as well because the reclaimer is such a big ship, and having it just one SCU containers for like 360 SCU of space was laborious.
To that, we also...
It's a microwave cannon, which actually CIG did have at one point. There was a handheld microwave cannon you could carry around. So yeah, it's a microwave cannon. As people pointing out, it's like, because the way that microwaves work is that they use radio waves, right? To vibrate the substance inside to excite the molecules. This is just that turned to 11.
Allow you to create bigger boxes now on the reclaimer. So it's not only the 1 SCU boxes that you currently have, but it's 1, 2, we don't have 4, but we have 8 and 16.
Which then you can go about stacking to your heart's content.
We really wanted to reduce the amount of back and...
It's basically sound waves though, y'all. Let's be clear. I know, whatever, sound not in a medium, but you know, that's the simple answer. Sound waves. The silence offends Slanesh.
For that you have to do, and we think it's a good solution.
One of the distinctions with the Reclaimer, though, is that it can break apart basically any size target, whereas the Vulture is limited to only up to a certain size of ship.
So currently, anything above, I think it's the Star Runner, can't be fractured by the Vulture, which is something you would need the Reclaimer to fracture. So if you can find one of these big wrecks, obviously there's a lot of material to be gained from this, which means obviously more SCU to be sold at the end, which is vastly more profit. We like to think that it would be more profitable to do this.
If I can let the whole radiation thing go, people can let sound in a vacuum go.
Than the Vulture, but obviously...
If we get demo charges in the future, I don't want explosive demo charges. I want vibration charges. Portable, one-time use versions of these sonic beams. You slap that baby on, you hit the go, you EVA back and watch the whole thing vibrate itself apart.
The Vulture is still very much convenient if you're a single player who goes around doing single player salvage.
We're still very interested in enhancing the destruction side of structural salvage, more similar to what was originally conceptualized with munching, but we're going to have to wait for Maelstrom to be more fully realized before we can start experimenting with that. So we've done a few things to improve the quality of life of salvage in general. First of all, the Vulture has some interesting features that you can control each of its little salvage arms independently, so that you can hold onto a target with a tractor beam.
Some of the elements that you will have in front of you, the sum of all the pieces that you will have in front of you, will be too much for your cargo hold. So what you shouldn't do in that time is actually trigger the disintegration, because every material inside that field will be disintegrated. So material will be lost that way. This is where the tractor beams come in place, because you can move out those objects that would make your internal storage overspill. So you get this nice little gameplay of, I actually pick what I want to grab. We also already in slight update to the crafting that we have in there. So now that we have two materials, we adjusted the crafting costs in the filler station. So they are now more realistic, so they are not punishingly expensive anymore. For the future, it will be even more meaningful, because then the material composition will be different. So it's not only construction materials, but it's specific to the parts that you have there. But that is for the far future, so it's not for now.
One of the most prominent quality of life features is the changes to the filler station on both the Vulture and the Reclaimer. They now have the option to set the filler station to auto-eject mode, where it will just repeatedly eject the last selected crate, which lets you rapidly unload the internal storage into cargo boxes, as long as you're quick enough at putting them on the cargo grid. Releasing structural salvage in 3.22 will give players an opportunity to play it and start giving us feedback on how we can continue to build on it for the future.
Salvage, like its industrial profession cousins, mining and cargo, is an iteratively developed feature that gets its next evolution in the...
Does this guy ever move his body? He may not. I mean, not every developer is very animated.
Upcoming Alpha 3.22. And if we've learned anything this week, it's that the path is almost never a straight line. I'm serious. Torsten has been on Spectrum all week, providing even newer details than what was available when we filmed. You're going to want to check that out. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you. We'll see you all here next week.
Zero State made two Reclaimers face each other holding their arms and dancing to an Enya song. That's fucking awesome. That's it. I will say, I heard people complain, and I'm like, it can't be that bad. Then I heard the thoughts, and I'm like, that's kind of stupid. And then after thinking about it, I'm like, no, I like this. This isn't too bad. Now, obviously, you're not going to Thanos snap things into your cargo hold all the time. Hopefully. But just hoping. There will be more involved. I think they're waiting for Maelstrom, because Maelstrom will allow for much more smaller pieces, so you can resonance break a ship into pieces, and then you can take those pieces and you can resonant break them down further until you get them to a small point where you can melt them into tiny bits and suck them into your straw. Only issue is it felt too early to release without Maelstrom. From what I understand, this is the basic material, though. Like they're not changing the way that this is going to work in the future. They wanted it out for the holidays because they wanted people to test it. Is Maelstrom a ship? Maelstrom is the new damage system. So it's the system that they're implementing in Squadron 42 and in Star Citizen, which allows for much more dynamic damage. It allows for dynamic damage of ships and of ground locations, like outposts and such. Now, I definitely want a fucking resonance cannon for fucking game now, though. I need a resonance cannon FPS weapon. I think it makes sense in the sense that if the gameplay works, if the construction material itself is balanced well for the economy, because you'll notice it said construction material. So the material we get for hull scraping is a different material from the material we get from the hull itself. Which means that construction material is almost certainly, and I mean almost certainly, a fucking a major fucking part of building bases when they do construction in the future. It would be cool if all right, hear me out. Pitching ideas. CIG, if you're listening, feel free. Take these ideas. A resonance rifle or cannon, like a heavy weapon, which doesn't do damage to flesh, but does do damage to ships or armor. So it's mostly designed to attack. If you hit somebody on the ground, it will damage their armor, so it'll weaken their armor. They're like like FPS armor. So it doesn't kill you, but it makes you weaker as kind of like a support weapon to soften up targets. So like you're facing a dude in big chunk ass armor. He walks up to you and he's like taking fucking buckets of ammo at you. You just shoot this thing at it, and suddenly his chest piece has gone from 100% health to 50% health, you know? Except they have it where they have it currently, ships will need to be powered down for it to work. I think that's just a current thing, just so they don't want to use it as like because they don't want to use it as a trolling thing, and it probably takes too long to be able to do to blow up an entire ship like you see in there. But I could see them toning it down a little bit for a handheld weapon that doesn't do specific damage to it'll do damage to ships, but it'll do like. It'll be used as an anti-materiel weapon. Thank you, Hankin. Like a non-flesh flamethrower. Yeah. Because I'm thinking about like those, you know, those saws that doctors use when they're cutting off casts. Is it like the reciprocal saw? I think is what it's called. Where instead of spinning around, it goes up and down, and so it doesn't actually hurt like skin, but it'll cut through like plaster easily. Reciprocating, yeah. And actually, I don't think it goes up and down because that's a jigsaw. It vibrates back and forth rather than spinning or going front and front with that. Wish they dropped the crossbow. Year of the bow was years ago. Oscillating. Thank you. Can't remember the name of it. If you look it up, there's a tool that doctors use to remove casts, which actually doesn't do any damage to skin, but it'll destroy. I mean, I'm sure if you hit somebody with it, it'll do damage, but like when it's on, it just cuts the cast. I'm addicted to the Warhammer universe. Bought almost all the best games for PC. Warhammer 40K or Warhammer Fantasy. What about sonic grenades? That would be pretty cool, too. Probably called the cast saw. I think it's called something like an oscillating or reciprocating saw or something like that. I mean, flashbangs are sonic grenades. I'm thinking more like a, in this case, it would be a disintegration grenade. So it's called an oscillating cast saw. Thank you, Minimo. Eventually, we get base building, and people build reinforced bunkers with heavy armor that needs to be penetrated, and this weakens the armor plate's durability on the bunker. Yeah, exactly. It's something that's designed to crack the shell, but not the gooey insides. Yeah, but bunker bombs go boom. I'm not talking about something that goes boom, because that's a lot of, like, damage to the gooey insides. I'm talking about cracking open the skull cracking open the shell so you can get into the gooey insides. I mean, you'll still be booms. You still got bombs, but I could later on see Reclaimer's Claw actually grabbing onto the ship. I could see them not using the physical touch. I know some people want it, but it's fine. As long as it just has more to it than just turn it into sand and suck it in, sort of thing. I'm Agent 40 to create war and smuggle my my love of Dark Angels and the Lion, but also just liking Space Wolves. I have the Lion. I was lucky enough in the first wave of the release of the Lion. I actually got Lionel Johnson. I haven't assembled him. He's still in pieces. Because I don't know if I showed you this, but when I was a kid, I collected Dark Angel. Oh, let's tell this. He's all bony. But this will probably look worse. I'm kind of the opinion that I want all the Primarchs to come back who are not dead, and for all of them to be completely normal. Like, for Russ to come back and just be like a really jovial dude who like regrets all of the shit he did in the past. Basically, I want all the Primarchs to be the anti-Emps. Yeah, I probably that requires effort, Commodore, to take pictures of all of them and put them up there, because I'm terrible at taking pictures. Like, this looks good. Right? And that's all that really matters. Just my old stuff doesn't look that good. Thank you. Once I figured out how to do edge highlighting, I realized how absolutely diabolically good it turns any dark miniature into. I'm getting into the Warhammer universe just this week, and I'm completely in love with it. Pace yourself, Darth Revens. Pace yourself. There's a lot. Like, a fuck ton. If you're interested, if you're interested in suggestions, I would, Luton's a fantastic source. Luton does really good in-depth stuff. Adeptus Ridiculous does some decent stuff in terms of like length, but they're kind of more like memey. There's other suggestions you'll hear people in chat say, but what I would suggest doing is picking up a copy, either audio or digital book, of The Infinite and the Divine, the first Caiaphas Cain book. What's a good space? I wouldn't do Space Marines. I wouldn't do Space Marines right away. Because like you kind of need to like get the context for the universe to understand why Space Marines are fucking scary and cool. Eisenhorn, I'd say Eisenhorn is probably, yeah. Pick up Eisenhorn, pick up Infinite and the Divine, pick up Caiaphas Cain for the Emperor. Those are the 3 books I'd start with. Gaunt's Ghost is another good one. Astartes is fantastic. Yeah, Astartes is great. Is that what got you into it, Darth Revens? Yeah, I can't really show it off, but I have. I've been collecting Warhammer miniatures since I was 13, and I lost most of my miniatures when I was young. But when I got back into it during the pandemic, I currently have an Orc army, a Astra Militarum army, which isn't finished yet, but almost there. Still got like a couple of. I got all my tanks to do. I've got Bane Blades to paint. I've got a completed Tau Force. I have a Space Marine chapter, which I'm currently going through because I want to get that one done first. And then my wife has an Adeptus Sororitas, so Sisters of Battle, has an entire Harlequin force. She has an entire Necron force, which she hasn't assembled or painted yet. And is also going to go into Blood Angels at some point. So, oh yes, Trace into Oregon's excellent adventure. It's just such a funny story. Like Caiaphas Cain and Infinite and the Divine are like good examples of comedy done right in 40K. Disintegrator attachment for multi-tool could be used to remove bottles, gowns, and junk from cities and stations for RMC. Just could be used in bunkers and equipment if you don't want RMC. Yeah, I can see that. Building my first Warhammer Age of Sigmar set right now. Found a good store. Got the lore book and started. What force are you building? I actually also have one Age of Sigmar army, which I haven't built yet, which is the Nighthaunt. Because spoopy ghosts. Spoopy ghosts are fun. And my wife has Slanesh, because dudes for Slanesh. Why do people make fun of Tau players? Because a lot of us are way too try-hard. We go way too hard. And so, for some context, Tau used to be broken as shit in the game. And for, I think, 4th or 5th edition, whenever they were introduced, it was effectively GW going, hey, the Imperium is kind of bad. And we really are getting, and it was GW getting their ass kicked by Gundam miniatures. So they're like, let's make our own Gundam miniatures. And so they made an entire force, whose sole concept was an alien alliance combined with mecha. And they were the good guys. Like, that was the trilogies. Like, they were the good guys in the universe. And so they made them really good when they first came out. And a lot of their lore was based around how they were actually good. They were just the grimdark aspect of them was that they were so tiny and they didn't have access to like faster than light travel or anything else like that, that they like were completely naive to the entire universe and were probably going to get shit stomped at some point. And as a result, people really didn't like them because they thought they broke the grimdark aesthetic. And they were really overpowered, and for a long time, Tau always had this overpowered nature to them because of the way that the game was built. Basically rewarded what was called castling, where you take all your good units, you put them in a formation, and you put them far away from your enemy where your guns could reach them and they couldn't reach you. So if you tried to charge them with melee attacks, you just get absolutely slaughtered. And there were a bunch of other cheap things they would do in the past, so. Ogre Maw Tribe, good choice. Good choice. Love me some ogres. Ogres are the other one that are like technically the good guys, I would say. They were at least in fantasy. I think they're destruction. They were order at one point. I may be remembering wrong, but yeah. Yeah, there were some space commies kind of worked. They're kind of a combination of Chinese communism mixed with the caste system of the like old Hindu caste system, with a lot of Japanese imperialism tossed in. They're very much kind of a what do they used to call those things? A grab bag of kind of different Southeast Asian and Asian culture kind of ideas thrown together. Are the Tau books good? No, they're terrible. The writer tries. He tries, but they're fucking awful. Like, they're the worst of the books out there. Yes, I did. I heard that the Tau was a marketing strategy for the Japanese market. They might have been, but they didn't like. There was a lot of problems with them. But I like them because I'm a fucking weeb. So, and the one thing, if for those of you who are new, hi, I'm Paul. I like Star Citizen. I like sci-fi, but what I really like is fucking mecha. And yes, and I mean that in every way possible. Mecha are just fucking cool. Giant stopping robots. Fuck yeah. Absolutely fucking love it. And so when I saw the Tau and I'm like, they're nothing but battle suits. It's nothing but mecha. I want it. I fucking want it. Hey, TK Rex. Glad to see you keeping on. Much love, brother. Thank you, TK Rex, for those $2. Yeah, Dan Abnett is a fantastic author. If you were reading anything Dan Abnett writes, you're good. If you want tanks, the Guard is where you want to go. Yeah, there are, but the Imperial Knights are big. They're big, stomping. They're not really like, they're not like kind of, I guess they're kind of mecha, but like, I like the variety. Not lying. I almost went. If I hadn't have gone Imperial Guard, I would have gone Imperial Knights, just because the armatures are cool as shit too. So. Hey, a tip.
TK Rex super chatted $2. Glad to see you keeping on. Much love, brother.
Dustier thing, but. Rocking Stone. Like, here's an example of my poorly done old guard, which haven't been brought up to my new standards. These are the old guard models, so. You've made the biggest mistake of any GW you can do, and you've sold off parts of your collection. I'm not going to lie. I've thought about selling these guys off a little bit. Because they're cool and all, but, like, I have a lot of them. Like, think I'm up to 200 individual infantry units, like individual infantry dudes for my guard. I have I have 4 squads of guard up there. I have 10 squads of guards in my display case. I still have 1 or 2 infantry squads that I haven't finished painting, plus a command squad, plus another command squad which I've already painted, plus Casterkin, which I painted, and 1 unpainted Casterkin. So that's something around, yeah, like 250 to 300 individual dudes. Is this his paid PTW? Pay to win? No. This is why you paid Battletech so cheap. Yeah, Battletech is so much better. That's small for guard. No, I know. Some people have, like, just fucking infinite waves of them. I never am going to do that, but... Alright, enough talking about the other stuff. I like Star City. I like other stuff, but we got into this, the 40K and other discussion, but... so the other thing I want to bring up is the new updates. So Star Citizen news has come out recently. This was posted today. So, following our first Alpha 3.22 patch watch last week, we're back to details of the next phase of flight development and testing you'll soon see in the game. Like every quarter, many adjustments have been made to the build based off your feedback. This time, we're giving you an update on how we specifically adjusted master modes in the experimental arena commander modes. Some insights for your feedback. In Alpha 3.20 and 3.21, you got a first glimpse at master modes, MM, with the experimental arena commander game modes. Our main learnings from data and feedback were, following the initial changes, combat is closer and feels more engaging. Removing the rule that weapon size must be reduced by 1 weapon to be attached to a gimbal, and N-1 had no negative impact on balancing. There is no clear advantage in input methods over each other. Tricording limiting in general works, but it is too restrictive outside of mouse and keyboard input devices. In 1v1, players sometimes feel locked in with no other options than DPS racing. Based on the data we've received from your play sessions, we've adjusted the play tests for Alpha 3.22. We've updated the new IFCS features, flight model tuning, and weapons properties. Furthermore, with Alpha 3.22, we will not only focus on dogfighters, light fighters, where the Gladius is a testbed in the public tests, but also collect and analyze much more data from your battles with different ship types. The Vanguard, heavy fighter, the Super Hornet, medium fighter, and the Buccaneer, medium interceptor, have therefore also undergone balance adjustments and will be the focus of testing. So if I believe this is what it's saying, is that Master Modes is being added to the Vanguard, the Super Hornet, and the Buccaneer, which is nice. IFCS changes. To improve 1v1 mechanics, we've added a few IFCS things to IFCS to support more diverse flight behaviors and less prone to cheating and macroing. IFCS movement simulation. When a ship is controlled with digital inputs like a keyboard, the actual movement is now simulated. That means that a simulated stick or throttle cannot move from 0 to 1 in one frame. This smooths out general movement and helps with pip waggling. IFCS boost ramping. Boosts can now be ramped up and down. For example, it's not immediately active at full strength, which smooths out general movement and reduces pip waggling, and ramp up and ramp down speeds can be balanced independently for each ship. Boost direction modifiers. Boost modifiers can now be applied per boost direction, not just per axis.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Mactan_SE just resubscribed for 19 months.
Thank you so much for that 19 months of support there, Macton. You are a very important pub, very precipice, very pedestrian. This is your fault. You're the reason we're drinking night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. All right, let's get back to you. Thanks, Macton. Now, still got my armored squadron. Oh, I see. It's something else. IFCS boosted rotation rates. While boost is held, ships now are able to momentarily reach higher rotation rates. The boosting ramping helps with to smooth that process. New tricording limiter. The old tricording limiter was too harsh when your ship was not perfectly accelerating along an axis, which easily happens with stick inputs. The new limiter only cuts accelerations back when you hit the side limits. Specifically for racers, that should feel better than previous Master Modes tests. Flight tuning. The Master Modes testing in Alpha 3.21, 3.20, 3.21 was mostly about symmetric combat. Now we're tuning to ship differences. For this round, we want to figure out if our so-called archetype ships feel right in relation to each other. To do that, we're equipping you with 4 ships that we want to be good in their respective roles, as opposed to the PU ships. The Master Mode ships have been tuned to have less relative flight performance differences between each other. Just to be clear, there are pretty big differences, but they're not as drastic as in the PU. The Master Mode ships have been retuned, and should feel nice in terms of general handling, but with clear pros and cons. Instead of listing them all here, we suggest you try them out. Here's the list. Gladius, light fighter. Adds agile, but can't take a lot of beating. F7CM, medium fighter. Sturdy and impressive agility for the weapon load. Buccaneer, medium interceptor. It can turn well.
Drugs.
It can't turn well, but speeds forward like no other. Vanguard, heavy fighter. Not the fastest or most agile ship, but has higher damage outputs than others. So the F7CM is now a medium fighter. Interesting. It used to be a heavy fighter. Now it's a medium fighter. The weird thing is the color thing. The weird question is, the color thing for glasses a real thing in front? Yeah. So the blue blockers, they do help a lot, because they'll, like, if you have blue blockers, it'll basically counter out blue light coming in, which makes your eyes strain. So it reduces eye strain a little bit. I got to get new glasses soon myself, and when I do, I'm gonna get some blue blockers for like this sort of stuff. Hornet was always a medium. The Super Hornet was was a heavy. That was the idea. The regular Hornet was a medium. Now the Buccaneer's a medium interceptor. It was originally a light fighter, a light interceptor. Yeah, that's weird. Yes, Luna. Just to kind of make up for the lost time from last week. Please make sure they're completely wraparound blue blocker glasses, just so you can look 80s late night commercial cool. Weapon changes. Ranges of all weapons have been vastly increased and spread out, as was added to all of them. You can now hit targets from multiple kilometers away to allow breaking up fire patterns. Gatling guns will heat up so they cannot fire forever. Okay. Arena Commander. There are 4 different dedicated MM experimental modes in AC. They each exist in their normal AC modes. Squadron Battle, Classic Race, Endless Vandal Swarm, and Free Flight. This is the wing. So that's very cool. Well, you can always go back and watch it again there, Luna. Please make sure... Oh, yeah. What the deuce? Prime renewed itself last month. This month, nothing? Sorry, AstroPub. It's all right. Well, I'll walk you good. So, what does this mean? So this is pretty good because one of the questions that people have had for the longest time, this is one thing that Nightcob, who's still here, thought or brought up, was that we didn't know how quickly they could add master modes to other ships. And this seems like they've actually been able to do so on 4 ships, on 3 other ships, fairly quickly. So, is it like a corn cob? So, cob is an abbreviation, which stands for Chief of the Boat. But I will be doing the normal time for office hours on Thursday as well. This is just kind of catching up for the other stuff. Just program it. Easy. It's not related to corn, sadly. I mean, it's not just program it easy. I think the answer may be, and I could be wrong on this, is that I've always felt that the Maelstrom and master modes were systemic, not individual. So you could just apply the same tools to those ships, and then all you'd have to do is update the HUD, and it would work fine. It's just a matter of, at that point, changing, you know, not necessarily sliders, but like changing aspects inside of those individual, like that thing. It doesn't require you to completely rebuild the ship from scratch. I could be wrong entirely on that, and they could just be stupidly efficient. But yes, I did get a haircut. I got tired of looking like a hobo. I got tired of looking like Execute. I think it goes with metrics mostly. Yeah, but it seems to be a to put in a bad analogy, but like something that kind of helps people. I can help people kind of vision it. It seems to be like a system they developed, and they can just plug it into every ship they have. So they don't have to physically like hand tune every single ship from scratch to attach this new flight models. It's just a flight model they can attach to ships. So thanks for explaining the name, by the way. Was engaged in a dogfight? Okay. Yeah, my Navy knowledge of Chief of the Boat is a little off. Isn't it just the highest enlisted officer on a submarine and possibly on smaller boats as well? You lost. Was this in DCS, Nightcop? But yeah, no, it's this system is built for Squadron. They built it specifically for Squadron, and they're allowing us to test it. And I do think that CIG is getting a lot of feedback from us because of this, and are hopefully improving Squadron as a result. But it's hard to tell. Chief is just a rank in the Navy. There's many different chiefs. But yes, there's many different ranks of chiefs, but yes. It's I want to say, for those of you who don't know the chief kind of rank, you can think of it similar to sergeant. There's many different types of sergeants, so. Like sergeants, there are many flavors, yeah. Also, in ground navy, like SEALs, have chiefs and master chiefs. Yes. Petty officer, chief petty officer, senior chief petty officer, etc., etc. Yeah. Everyone knows master chief, though. It always tickles me that like people know Master Chief because of Halo, and it's like he's a Master Chief. He's in the Navy, and he's ordering around Marines everywhere he goes. Cobb would be like first sergeant in the Army. Yeah. You're a chief warrant officer in the Navy, so I was also called chief as well. Okay, there you go. Dragnos. It's the highest enlisted non-commissioned officer on a Navy vessel. Okay, yeah. I think I've already told this story, but my wife is a Navy brat. And when she first played Halo, she the way she played it was she would whenever there was like a marine level, she would let them go ahead. She would like go out and then like wait for the Marines to jump out, and she would shout, "Go, meat shields, go!" And I'm like, "Love, what are you doing?" She's like, "I'm in the Navy. I'm a Master Chief, and they're all Marines. So that's their job. Their job is to go soak up bullets for me." It's like, fucking shit. I can't confirm this. See, I have a cousin who's like, is he colonel now? He might be a colonel. He teaches at like West Point. So I think he still does. So, and like, he's a graduate from West Point, like crazy bastard, went through Ranger School, a bunch of other things. He volunteered to do EOD, engineer, and like lifetime Army. So Army Navy games get heated in our house. Yeah, he's one of those guys, if he has political acumen, he might actually end up being a general. I don't see him much. Like he's like my second cousin, but I just grew up around him a lot, so. Sapper? Yeah. He volunteered for EOD for so he went through EOD training specifically so he could get a deployment to the Balkans to show you how old he is. He was a fresh graduate from West Point, and like all that shit happened like a year or two after he graduated, and he immediately went to EOD training. He volunteered for EOD training so he could go to do that stuff. Gosh, after that, he ended up going to Ranger School, and then he ended up with the 7th, I think. In Iraqi Freedom. He ended up in the cavalry. And then after that, he I think he did one tour in Afghanistan. He was like a captain by then. You were hanging out with some EOD guys back in my day, back in May. We blew some up, so there. Don't tell anyone. I met generals. They were weird to meet. This was an anti-air general. Oh, sorry. Get into this discussion. I am interested in, because we've into this discussion. in sort of what the culture, because for those of you who don't know, I'm doing a video on, for a lore video on, religion right now, the religions in Star Citizen. And I think I'm on page 7, and I just finished human religions and cults. I haven't even started the Devarin, the Banu, or the Xi'an, or the Vanduul. So it's going to be long. Like 20 to 30 minutes long video. And then after that, I decided I was going to ask chat for another ask the viewers for another, high effort, low view count video idea. And one of the ideas I put up there was the changing doctrines of the UE Navy. So of course, people chose that. So that's the one I'm going to be doing after this. And, so I'm going to have to do a lot of research into how all that works, and probably be wrong for that. Wrong for a lot of it, but I'll do my best to try to kind of capture what I think is the idea. And then, so as a result, I'm kind of interested into like the traditions of the UE Navy and see if CIG manages to capture those traditions, because people kind of generally know that no two militaries are exactly the same. They all have their unique, like, weird eccentricities, the things that kind of show up because of just culture in general and how it kind of forms. So. It's all right. Thank you, Luna. I've always said my beloved Corps is a state-sponsored cult with guns. There's some interesting news about the Corps, which is that there's only one branch in the military which hasn't had problems recruiting, and it's the Marine Corps. And I mean, to me, it's kind of obvious. Like, I teach, for those of you who don't know, and and I teach mostly seniors, so students who are their 12th year of school, they're about to graduate and go off to college or go off to not secondary school, no longer high school. And of my 110 students, I have easily 10 who are going into the military, and like 8 of them are going to the Marine Corps. I'm in the middle of Texas. The closest body of water we have is Ladybird Lake. And 8 of my 10 students are going to the military, are going to the Marines. 4 or 5 classes a day. 6. The reason why is because the Navy has the Marines has an identity, right? Like they have a mythos that surrounds them. You joke that your beloved Corps is a state-sponsored cult with guns, but I mean that's what makes it attractive. It's like it has its own sort of culture which is unique to all of the armed forces, whereas like the Army is really like a dozen, 100, 1,000 different cultures wrapped up into them, because the Army is so big. You have, air forces, you have, logistics, you have tanks, you have armored vehicles, you have infantry, you have medical, you have artillery, you have they all have their own unique cultures which are separate from it. So Air Force is the same way. You have the people who do the satellites. You have the people who maintain vehicles. You have the people who fly them. You have the people who load them. You have the people who protect them. You have the people who, who do logistical change. You have the people who do combat. Well, here we have conscription, so you don't pick branch, but you can't have wishes. That's interesting. If you ask me, you shouldn't be able to get drafted for the military out of the high school. It's not really drafted; it's volunteer. The U.S. Army, the U.S. military is all volunteer, so there's no drafting. There's no conscription. But that's what I mean when I talk about like Star Citizen, the UEE branch, like the UEE's identity, the kind of culture of like UEE Army versus Navy versus Marines. And like, I think that's an interesting one. Yeah, technically. Well, new for you. What do you mean new for you? That makes sense for the Air Force. But like transitioning this back to discussion back to Star Citizen, like I think that's going to be an interesting thing that CIG is going to have to wrangle, because like in the lore, at least, each of the branches has a unique identity to it. They definitely have their own sort of identity. Army being the sad boys. Like the Army gets like bitch protection duty and convicts. Like that's what they get for their forces. And it's like, god damn, it must suck to be in the UE Army. Which is why I desperately want the UE Army to be like the cool kids crew, in the sense of like when they show up, they bring the whole fucking warehouse with them. The Army doesn't show up to play games. They show up to build homes, settle down, raise kids, kind of thing. Whereas like the Navy kind of feels like that, have adventures. You want to go on an adventure? Come join the Navy. You don't need to be too competent. We'll give you a spoon and stick you on the chow line, kind of thing. You did a membership milestone, chat. I'm not sure if you see it. It's new to me. Oh, membership milestone. Oh, I didn't see that. That's new. Oh, hey, Paul, this is cool. I appreciate all the content. I just sit back and watch watch in silence. Thank you, D Polite. I didn't know that those even existed. Thank you for that 2 months and 1 month. I guess I have to kind of change the. That's kind of like a resub for Twitch, I guess. Nice. Anyway, I can imagine the Bengal guys being their own breed to match up with fighter jocks that keeps them separate from, say, the Polaris crew. Well, I mean, it's almost certain, based off of what we've seen in Squad 42 stuff and what I've learned, fighters are elite. If you're a pilot, not just a fighter pilot, just a pilot. If you're a pilot in the Navy, you are like a head and shoulders above everyone else. It's like an impossible goal. It's like super elite to become a pilot in the UAE. Everyone wants to do it, but no one is, like, very few people are capable. So that should give you some context. Is in Squadron 42, you are a pilot, which is big deal, big fucking deal that you're a pilot. And that means, pilots go do everything from flying fucking starfarers to, from F8s to starfarers sort of thing. So she even said in the trailer, keep trying. Yeah. Even you're flying rubber dog shit out of New Hong Kong. Yes. Yeah, the Navy go to exotic places, meet exotic people, and catch exotic diseases. So I can only imagine what the Space Navy would be like. Look, put Captain Kirk to shame. I mean, being a pilot IRL is a big deal too. Yeah, but I mean, like in terms of culture, like pilots, they get their own uniforms, they get their own like unique armor and flight suits compared to everybody else. So that, like, they're their own culture. I imagine deck crew are very different from, say, like. Yes, we're talking lore. Hey, Elsinore. In the end trailer, the NPCs keep talking about applying to become pilots. Yeah. I mean, I have friends that are carrier guys in my nuclear community, and we share that community. But as sub guy, I have very different traditions and mindsets outside of shared nuclear heritage. I would love the Star Citizen to give us a YouTube miniseries that's something that's just lore. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir at this point. So Marines are completely different. So you cannot join the Marines. The UE Marines are not joinable. You have to be chosen to be a UE Marine. And most Marines are chosen out of boot camp. So we're like the top 10% of the UE Marines, of all applicants for the Army or the Navy, get pulled to go to Marine training. And then Marine training is effectively hell. Most of it takes place on a barely habitable frozen rock, which is the headquarters of the Marines, where you are basically pushed to your absolute limits of survival. And once you get through that, if you survive it, you get added as a Marine. So. Sausa Secundus? No. If I recall correctly, modern Navy pilots wear different boots than ship sailors. They don't call Navy doesn't have pilots. Navy has aviators. You get corrected by that all the fucking time. The UE Marines are the damn Space SEALs. Yeah, basically. The Marines have their own fleets. They have their own carriers. They have their own. So like they operate in like 3 distinct modes. They have special forces, which are like the most premier special forces known as 6th Platoon. So when you see those 6th Platoon medals, it's basically like SEAL Team 6 for Star Citizen. And then you have fleet duty, where Marines, which is your basic, you get through training, you get stuck on a ship with Navy. So like you have Marines who protect Navy, but protect Navy boats, just like in modern military Navy Marine sort of relationship. And then you have naval or like Marine, like on Marine bases or Marine fleets, where your job is to fly around with Marines. And that's kind of like elite Navy, as it were. So they're their own branch. The UE Navy, the UE Marines are their own branch entirely. We're talking about Star Citizen, and I'm talking about Siklar. We kind of go in between the two because some people are talking about real world stuff. I'm thinking talk about more like, let's look at real world examples and kind of compare them to Star Citizen. So for instance, in some audio that I've heard, at one point, Dooley was supposed to be a Marine, an ex-Marine who left the service and became an advocacy agent. And that's not uncalled for. That's not unusual. A lot of Marines end up doing like founding mercenary companies, working for large, like very, very like important mercenary companies, being bounty hunters or working for the advocacy and that kind of stuff. So, what does the UE only have 2 armed force branches? They have 3: Marines, Navy, and Army. So who are the secret boys of the Army? I think they have an Army intelligence, but there's not a lot about Army. Really, honestly, the UE Army doesn't really have a lot of lore. It's kind of sad. So, Sakar, this is a tradition that goes back in sci-fi back to the 60s. There's a lot of debate on specifically why it is, but the general rule is for like a lot of sci-fi, especially sci-fi in English, when you're doing military science fiction stories, any of the space forces are usually called Navy. It may stem from Starship Troopers, the book Starship Troopers back in the 60s, but it could be earlier than that, because of the kind of the idea that space is the future ocean. So you have the Navy. Yeah, Heinlein probably does it a lot. Yeah. I don't remember if Heinlein was a Marine or in the Navy. He was in the military. I think he was Navy during World War II. So he took a lot of his kind of experience in World War II and attached it to a lot of it. So, yeah. Mr. Heinlein was complicated. I'll just say that. Starship Troopers still on the Navy reading list. Dude was very much into free love and dope. That man did a lot of drugs and he had a lot of sex. And he tried to combine it with his kind of more libertarian ideas. So, whew. U.S. Space Force is a division of the Air Force. It's more like it's probably more like a Space Corps than Space Force. It's not its own branch, but. Hot take, their army has no lore. The UE Army has no lore because their intelligence corps are just that good. Whoa. I'm not saying Heinlein is a representative sample of freak in my branch, but my father-in-law's ex-Navy night cub, you couldn't convince me otherwise. The stories I fucking heard. No. So the way that the UE Navy works is that it's basically all of the spaceships in Star Citizen are under the UE Navy. There are some exceptions, like there are some transports. The Army has transports, and the Marines have their own fleet. But generally speaking, the vast majority of the spaceships and space combat ships in the Star Citizen universe that are owned by the UEE government are under the control of the UEE Navy, which would be kind of like the modern day Space Force. The UE Army is mainly a garrison force that comes after the Marines have done the heavy work and then taken the beachhead. Sort of. The Army was involved in the invasion of Idris IV. It's just like there hasn't been a lot of invasions since the Second Tavaran War. Since the First Tavaran War, really. So there just really hasn't been a lot of need for the Army to do invasions and stuff like that. There hasn't been a lot of ground war except for like defense purposes. But the real answer is in terms of like, I think that's a kind of a piss poor lore, because there has to be garrison forces that are more than just garrison forces. They have to also train in other forces, other things as well. And I think the reason why they don't is because the Army doesn't show up much in Squadron, as far as I understand. And, if at all, and, generally speaking, the Army doesn't move around a lot. So why not? They should have a space in lore which is much bigger than they currently do, though. Yeah, that seems almost like, because their current lore seems more like the National Guard. Like, not even reservists. They're like Home Guard or National Guard or something like that, so. Like, the most we get is that the Army is responsible for enforcing what's known as the Fair Chance Act. So their job is to protect planets who already have emerging intelligences on those planets. So like pre-Stone Age to Stone Age technology is the most we've found. We've not found like an alien civilization that's in like the Bronze Age or anything like that yet. But we have found other sentient, sapient aliens which haven't advanced beyond the Stone Age. And so based off the Fair Chance Act, the Army's job is to protect those planets from incursion. So are there any contested systems? No. I mean, the closest is probably Vega, which has fucking 5 of them. It has 5 Army bases, which is kind of insane. PDF of Warhammer. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. They're currently the PDF, and I'd rather them be more like the Imperial Guard, but. How long it is to get a three systems? Are you talking about like three star systems? Well, we only have one. I think it won't be too long after we get the first one that we get the second one. But I think if we get Spyro in next year, then I would say there's a outside chance we'll get a second one next year. Probably more like middle of 2025 to get the third one. But I think that whatever the fourth one is will come closely after that. How many of those types of planets with different primitive life there in lore? 4, I think. Look at it this way. Have you ever been to or heard of Osoian hides? Maybe you sold them in the black market or found them kind of as a black market item. That's a sentient species. Protected species. Yeah. Oso, the planet Oso is protected. I want to say gasping. I think I got Oso-ian hides mixed up with gasping weevil eggs, but gasping weevil eggs are boner pills of the 30th century. Now, it's pretty much a joke. Like, the army does a very bad job of protecting these planets because they have stations that they're supposed to monitor them, but they don't do a good job. And there's lots of corruption, which again leads to me to think that the army is just really bad, which kind of sucks because like you'd want the army to not just be a shitty branch that's like ever thought of. That's a long lore problem of mine because it's like either the army is a valuable branch or it's completely garbage. And if it's the complete garbage, why is it called the army and not like the defense forces or something like that? So Sodium Poacher's a game loop. It will be, possibly. Dumping ground for the misfits. Yeah, but you wouldn't think it would still be called the army. You would think it would be called something like defense forces or something like that. Because even like narratively speaking, that would lower their status. So it would make it a little bit more, it would give them a little bit more of a title. So you'd have the Navy and the Marines and you'd have the Planetary Defense Forces, which would just be, you know, the UEE Planetary Defense Forces, which would just be like, okay, yeah, you're the bitch squad. Like, we're selling sentient protected species. You're selling the skins of sentient protected species. Or call them militia. Nah, I mean, militia is a little too low, because that would be... allegedly. I mean, true, you can't crack open the cases and see if they're actually in there, but... Yeah, kind of like a National Guard, but we wouldn't call them National Guard. Planetary Guard, maybe? There's no National Guard in the lore, as far as I know. There is reserves. Like, there are references to the naval reserves that exist, so there's probably army reserves, too. People who have served their time but have are extending their time so they can get pay and other benefits and stuff like that. Jokes aside, I wonder if the army's reputation isn't a carefully crafted facade. Vega broke before the guard did. What I'd like to see, honestly, is CIG kind of flesh out the army in the sense of having a group which would be what we would consider the U.S. and the National Guard, who are like the kind of sit around and do nothing sort of guys. The people whose main job is to sweep decks or sweep places and keep people out of, like, when shit goes wrong, like there's some sort of national disaster, like they organize relief efforts, and their main job is to defend the planets and cities from attack from, you know, foreign or domestic kind of thing. And then there's a part of the army which is designed as an assault force, as like invasions and other things like that. And while they don't use it a lot, they still have a lot of resources and those sorts of things. They're designed as kind of a slow-moving fist that just punches when they need to. Because that would differentiate them pretty well, and I think would... And maybe that army isn't that big, because it doesn't have to be, but it's, say, bigger than the Marines. So the CDF is a volunteer force. It's not more of a militia. Yeah. That'd be the closest thing. But the CDF is an on-demand militia. You can join the CDF and leave the CDF depending on the whims of the local advocacy special agent in charge. So, yeah, like the mobile infantry. Yeah. Will there be a chance to buy the F7 Mark II in skin anytime soon? There's been rumors about it, yeah. Now the UE2 is too broken, crumbling to afford a facade. Join the CDF and go to Klesher, yeah. The UE army is a force that punches above its weight, yeah. What I mean is, like, I'd love to see a force of 50,000 to like 100,000 who's been, like, when you join the Marines, you join the army, you get like if you really are the go-getting, like heart ripping out sort of like ground pounding motherfucker, you go to that part of the army. And yeah, you don't see a lot of action because a lot of action doesn't come your way, but you train for it, sort of thing. Are there any lures for big mercenary companies? Yeah, actually. The biggest one is Blackjack Security. They're the ones who run all the security forces for, I want to say, ArcCorp. Yeah, they're huge. They're like massive, and they're multi-system. And then there's a kind of a multi-system but more specialized, which is funny because the leader of said mercenary company just hangs out in a bar in Lorville right now, which is kind of cool. Oh gosh, what's his name? How evil are they? They fucked over Ticia Pacheco, so pretty hard. CDF is one step above a Marshall posse. Yeah, Eckhart. As far as I can tell, Miles Eckhart is the head of Eckhart Security. And Eckhart Security was founded by his father. And there may be other like siblings or relatives that help him run it, but it's multi-system. There are a lot of that, so. So, probably the biggest one's Blackjack, though. Yeah, technically player orgs or PMCs. There are probably bigger PMCs out there. I would assume the army uses Nova tank, storm tanks, and Atlas trucks. Yeah, there are also references for them using the first generation. Crusader transport ships known as the Jupiter, which, quite frankly, if the lore is to be believed, the Jupiter is fucking huge, like absolutely gigantic. Because the Jupiter was supposed to take shuttles to market. And a Crusader shuttle is somewhere between the shuttles we see like flying around in Orson and the fucking C1. Like the Spirits. The Spirit is based off of an old shuttle hull from Crusader. Actually from Seraphim's system before it became Crusader. So it's fucking huge. Like multiples of those ships to market. I would gather minimum 5, maybe 5 to 10. So how the fuck? What big of that ship be to carry 10 Spirits to market in like one run? Yeah. Why did CIG remove shields from the X1? My guess is because they didn't have the space for it. Paul, I see you've been winning, going on the epic battle between you and your replicant to gain control of your identity. I can tell the difference between Paul and Luap. It's because you don't like me when I wear my white shirt. Hey, Griffin. Bigger than the Kraken? I mean, the Kraken can't hold multiples of Spirits, so yeah. There's a reason why CIG says they're never going to make the Jupiter. Because it's so fucking big. The X1 Force has shields? Okay, so just one of them does. Good to have you back. This Star Citizen content didn't feel complete last days. Thank you so much, Guapo. So the UE Army has their version of the SDF-1 from Macross. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's bigger than Retribution, but I wouldn't say, like, it would probably be bigger than just ballparking it, it would be somewhere between an Idris and a Javelin in size. Oh, so they removed all of the shields from bikes. That's an interesting balance pass. When the heck do you stream? I usually stream around this time, but usually Thursday through, Wednesday through Sunday is what I'm trying to do. I don't know what that what is about. If that's what's about the shields or about the size of the Jupiter. Jupiter's fucking huge. I mean, basically, take, like, arrange 5 spirits in a way that it would make sense that they would be able to fly out from one another. Fly out an area or be unloaded. And then lay those over, like, bigger ships to give you the kind of idea of what I'm talking about. So an Airbus Beluga for space. Yeah, I guess something like that, yeah. Not all spikes got yeeted, but most did. I'm guessing the Dragonfly probably still has its shields. And I'd imagine the Nox may still have its shields, but I don't think the Hover Quad or the X1 have it. Maybe the Nox may not have it. X1 is the only one with shields? Ooh. Paul, did you just say you're streaming Wednesday through Sunday? Wednesday's a new time for me to stream. And I'm trying to stream more regularly, but I regularly stream Thursday and Saturday. But I try to stream, I try to stream Thursday through Sunday. And Wednesday's a newer edition, so. Dragonfly lost its shields. Oof. It'll be sold again when 3.22 comes out. How long is a Jupiter? I mean, again, above 100 meters. Isn't that the size of the Idris is about 100 meters? Or I might be wrong with that. 242. So I would say between 200 and 400 meters would be my best guess based off of what it was supposed to do. Effectively, the Jupiter was because the reason why the Army bought a bunch of Jupiters is because they're like, we can put an entire fucking tank battalion in that bitch and send it off to combat. So, yeah, they could put a lot of troops and materiel into that because it was designed to hold massive shuttles. And in theory, the Jupiter was supposed to land. So it was supposed to be able to land and offload. So, yeah. Hey, dropped yogurt. So, like, that's an example of like a piece of Army lore that will never come up because they'll never make the Jupiter. Yeah, 3.22 is an open PTU, Scott. You can play it right now if you wanted to. That's why people are talking about the X1 and the Santokyai, because they're both in the game right now. There's actually rumors that it might actually end up going into live pretty soon. It's only an EPTU because I think they're keeping the PTU open for other testing. EPTU and PTU are the same thing. That's the kind of logistical resources UAE Army has access to. Yeah. So, again, I would like a couple of things for the Army to make sense. That makes sense for the Army and kind of makes sense for the Navy. One, either a mobile gun. What are they called? Basically, a motorized artillery platform. Or pulled artillery. Self-propelled guns, thank you. Self-propelled artillery.
Spaceship. You can take away my space suit.
That's a fucking requirement.
You can even take away my space lasers.
Or towed artillery, yeah.
But
one of the two.
Never, ever take away my space game.
Kaniak89 just resubscribed for 27 months. I have passed the threshold to insanity.
Welcome, brother or sister, or whatever. Welcome, citizen. To we're all mad here. Self-propelled, yeah. Titan suits, yeah. And I also want fucking mechs. If not mechs, then walkers. You know? Of course, I'm a mech zealot, so of course I always want mechs in my sci-fi, but I do think it would make sense in the context of Star Citizen, because a walker would require its own logistical chain to function, but would also be able to traverse rough terrain, basically go anywhere it needs to. It doesn't require tracks. Be able to attach whatever sort of material you want onto it, direct assault cannons, artillery pieces, whatever. Or like logistical, like you could use it as like a walking mobile like fob. Or walking mobile, like medical, like front. Effectively, think of it as something that's like walks slowly, has a large surface on top.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers. But you
yes,
can
require your own logistical change, walker.
Ever take away my space game.
Thank you so much there, Ghislaine, for that, becoming a VIP on YouTube. You're a very important pub, a very impressive pisser of any pedestrian. This is your fault. You're drinking night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Well, thank you for doing that. Paul is another mech game. I love it. Well, I mean, like a big walker. Maybe not necessarily like the size of an AT-AT. Maybe a little bit smaller, but. And then also what I've called the gunship. Take a something like a Fury. No quantum drive, just a basic thrusters. And then apply that concept to a gunship. It's a job not to really go out into space. Stays in atmosphere or on planets. So it doesn't need quantum. It just needs a huge honkin' hydrogen tank and it can just stay in an operating area for fucking weeks, days if you wanted to. You just stay there and just load it up with more guns than like you'd think would be possible. It doesn't need a quantum drive because when it shows up on its in the field, it's just gonna stay there. Like, basically something that you would put in an area and it would delete anything on the ground, but wouldn't be maneuverable or fast. It would just be armored and armed to the teeth. That ship already exists. It's called the Cutlass Steel. Oh, that's a good joke. That's a good joke. A Hind D? The idea being it's designed to directly support infantry and ground forces. So it definitely needs protection, but because it's so good at its job, it's just like, why wouldn't you have it? There's a force, the enemy base is over here. You just overwhelm it with firepower because you just have that much firepower. Well, yeah, like an AC-130. Like, kind of, yeah. Or a Hind or a Frogfoot or like, kind of like an A-10 sort of thing. Those kind of ideas. Or similar to like an Apache or an Alligator, like, you know, an attack helicopter sort of thing. Jupiter, but modified. I've seen a video where they compared tanks to mechs, and mechs had a big disadvantage for being too tall and exposed to fire. I mean, my argument against it depends on the type of mech you're talking about. If you're talking about like Gundams or like assault mechs from Mech Warrior, yeah, they're fucking far too big. But if you could build mechs that were tough and agile, and that were the size of maybe a building, the argument that size matters is a fucking ancient, and I mean god, like fucking Cold War era idea. Because all you have to do is look at how tanks built by Germany or UK or America, like various NATO style tanks, have how well they've done against Russian Soviet style tanks, which were designed to be small and compact. And generally speaking, the NATO tanks would win out, even though you couldn't use as many, and yeah, they'd still get taken out frequently. They would still win in a lot of fights, even though the NATO style tanks were huge compared to the Soviet tanks. So, and like in the modern age of like infantry-based anti-tank rockets and bomblet-dropping drones, like the silhouette of your tank doesn't fucking matter anymore. It's really more about the defenses you can put onto the tank. And I think Gundams are a great example because Gundams are just tough. They're not walking tanks. They're walking like fortresses. They just don't fucking go down. Yeah, where is Tiro when you need him for this stuff? There's Radar Echo. It definitely matters. Visual signature is the primary way for target identification and location. But I think when you're looking at the survivability rates and those other things, you're not looking at like it's not the same kind of thing anymore. Like, it's not the be-all, end-all that a lot of people like to put it up to with tanks. Because the biggest problem in, like, say, the Cold War era was, could you see them? But with access to drones, as easy as it is today, yeah, you can fucking see them. They create giant plumes of smoke, and they move really fast. They're easy to see from the air, especially from low in. Oh wait, he'd be asleep. He's old, past his bedtime. They kick up dust and make heat. Yeah, so you just need a drone with an infrared scope of some kind, which are cheap. And you can find them. And you just gotta, if you put a big enough bomb on the bottom of one of those drones, you'll definitely be able to drop down hatches or disable tracks. Maybe even drop mines. That's what we've seen from the war in Ukraine. So my argument for mechs, always argument for mechs, is that mechs work not because they are walkers, but mechs work because they're versatile. They would work because you could go around terrain that tanks couldn't go through. And they could be easily swapped out. 3-story, like 30-foot tall mechs. Things that would be able to conceal a little bit in urban environments. And it wouldn't necessarily clear trees, but could clear trees. Because you could swap out a mech's weaponry for whatever you need to. Mechs could also become engineering platforms. Just give them a big shovel. You've got yourself a digger. Like, it could just start doing stuff. It could place down heavy objects to create bridges. Like, they're versatile in that sense. Yeah, exactly. They have uses outside of strictly military use, and the military, as a result, could use them for multiple roles. Yeah, Patlabor. I think, like, I always look at the mechs from, like, Patlabor or Blue Gender or oh, what's it called? Appleseed, that kind of stuff. Stuff that's like between a power armor and like a mech. Something that's not like 60 foot tall. Yeah. Mech CBs, yeah. Can't tanks be modular as well? Yes, but you have to. They're not as versatile. Like, you can take a tank chassis and turn it into something else, but that tank chassis requires a lot of work to be able to turn back into a tank or turn into something else. Whereas with a mech, all you need is to develop, if they can hold a gun, which could be a giant cannon, or you could swap out and build a different gun that's now a giant particle beam or a rocket launcher or whatever. Like, it becomes mix and match based off of what you can build in terms of replacements. And that replacement is, I'm a mech pilot. I reach down, I pick up a gun. I have a gun now. I don't need this gun, I can put it down, and I can pick up this other gun. Now I have this other gun now. Like, it becomes super fast to change on the fly compared to taking machine parts, undoing screws, replacing parts, kind of swapping them out. That whole process can require a factory to function, whereas a mech can do it instantaneously. Mechs will work because They look cool and give nerds fantasies. They also have future tech, so you can assign them any ability you want to because they don't exist. Of course, they're made up. They don't have existence is better than we have. I still think the argument is mechs could exist. They could. Aliens power loader sized best. Yeah, I mean that's literally what the Titan suits are for Star Citizen. They're industrial kind of power armor loader sort of things. They're about 10 feet tall. So. Come work with me, we'll get it done. Yes. Build, I believe in mech. I actually do think, like, in reality, I do think there is a case for some sort of mechanized, bipedal, if not like two-arm usage, sort of mechanized chassis of some kind. Because if you could build something like that, it could replace cranes, diggers, and any number of construction equipment. If you could take that, you could basically take an entire construction site worth of vehicles and combine it into a single active, like a single chassis, a single device. You could replace, you would increase, like magnetize, like a huge amount of efficiency, and like you require a lot cheaper to do stuff. Yeah, something like an SCV. I think if we're talking about like an actual practical use for what we would call a mecha, that would be it. Not necessarily combat, but that. Yeah, I mean, the tanks with treads could work. I think if you did bipedal mechs, you'd have to have like power to run them, and they'd have to be able to run like well, which most mechs that are built today that are like more like showpieces aren't built like that well. But if you could have them walking, it would allow for you to like crouch and raise up and that kind of stuff like that, and move more agilely, because you can't really move in a lot of places. Like you could straddle like an area to like help pick up beams and move them to locations. We just need to master technology for two-legged exoskeletons, robots to balance while being as mobile as humans. I mean, and that sounds like an extension, but it's not that far off. There's been technological advances and not advances, but definitely research done into that, like exosuits, like in the last 20 years. It's definitely something that militaries have been looking into, mostly for aliens power loader style, to be able to efficiently and safely pick up heavy objects that you can then load onto transports and such. Yeah, I mean, that's a good example. Jade picking up, Boston Dynamics already has a bipedal robot. It's just not very good, but the advancements have been going faster and faster with bipedal robot technology. The problem is power. That's really the power. Like we can innovate around mobility and movement and joints and scale. The problem is any of this requires power, which, you know, a tank or, you know, a construction vehicle has, because it has a fucking engine. And combustion engines don't necessarily work that well with those sorts of things. So. Hey, Skimmy. I'm going to kind of finish it up here, but yeah. I've seen a lot of those DARPA project works with trying to use exoskeletons. The problem is that a lot of those exoskeletons are really impressive with just the sheer amount of weight they can hold. But they're all powered by a tether. So... A fair chunk of construction machines, mass power plant, front-end loaders, cranes, bulldozers, etc. Yeah. Portable atomics, a la Fallout. Yeah, like microfusion cells. But I think that's another thing. Like if you look at tanks, how much of a tank's chassis is made up of just propulsion? Like not an insignificant amount of a tank's full body is just its motor to get it going. The documentary Robot Jocks got big robots, right? Too bad they were lost to history. Yeah, too bad it was lost in World War III. That we all forgot about happened. Fucking love Robot Jocks. About a third of the M1 Abrams is engine and transmission. Yeah. There's a Japanese company that's testing Exo for work in warehouse, lifting things and save space without using forklifts, but they need charging frequently. Yeah. And that's another example. Like exosuits for loading and moving. If you could have an exosuit that has like an extension legs, there's ways that you can move up and down. You can move more. You don't have to use like forklifts. And the thing is that all this technology we're talking about could be militarized. And especially with exosuits, if you have exoskeletons that help you increase strength, it means that you could attach weapon systems to those and armor, which would then allow for powered armor in the Heinlein-esque concept of the word. The problem to all of these boils down to power. I mean, and I always argue this. What's the difference between an exosuit and a mech? Size. That's it. If you got an exosuit that's 10 stories tall, it's fucking mech. Used to go to Robot Expos a lot annually. I was meant to see we need to master the technology to achieve the types of balance and mobility that'd be useful for an advanced combat mech. Yeah. Oh yeah. But that's not as complicated as power sources. Like, we just don't have anything that would last in combat for long enough for it to matter. And as always, power isn't necessarily the problem. Generation of power isn't the problem. It's storing of that power that's the problem. We have very good technologies for generating power. In fact, most modern energy generation grids in most places on the planet generate more power than humans use. If they could capture a lot of that power that they generated during the day when power usage is low, and then use it at night when power generation generally is higher, you wouldn't have to generate as much power and use as much resources. You could be more efficient with your resources. And thus, you would have more efficient power systems, which would mean better life for most of us. I'm good night there. Yeah, I'm going to call it a night. We're kind of getting into the weeds here. It's been a weird night, but And this isn't too far off because we are getting the Titan suits in Star Citizen, so it'll be interesting to see how that works. Ah, the mule. The robot mule. Wasn't that it wasn't even like a walker, it was like a wheel vehicle too. That version. Thank you, Zero Lambo. Yeah, I'll end up by saying I'm looking forward to what Salvage is going to become when they have the fuck's it called, Maelstrom in. I feel like what we're going to get is probably a little bit better than the Thanos snapping of various stuff into dust, because that doesn't make a lot of sense. So we'll get pack animals once fauna is in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if we did, but I don't think it would be anytime soon. They got those big mining spider mechs too, right? For Star Citizen? Yeah. That's Argo. No, Greycat. Greycat makes those mining spiders. What's your next screen? I want clarity because you mentioned Wednesday. Originally, it was going to be tomorrow, and I was going to play with Loken, but Loken is doing a sponsored stream, so I'm going to play with him on Friday. Probably around... actually pretty early. Because I'll have to talk with him about it, because I'm out of work earlier that day, so we'll see. Rogue Trader, yeah, it'll be Rogue Trader. They were in the new Squad 42 trailer, I thought, that, in the hangar. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely see those. I mean, they're definitely part of Squad 42. I mean, there's the Kazi Grazer, so. The Space Cow. But on Wednesday, I'll probably stream at 7 my time, so at 8 Eastern. And I'll probably stream Star Citizen. And then I'll be streaming for a couple hours there. And then on Thursday, I'll do another office hours, just like this, set normal time. And then on Friday, I will be streaming early. I get done with work around, like, before 3 p.m. Eastern for me, so it's pretty quickly. And then so around there, around 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, I'll do a special stream specifically as a Q&A for lore Q&A for the Astro Historian. So it won't be on here, either YouTube or Twitch. It'll just be on the Astro Historian YouTube. You can watch us there, and it'll be a couple of hours. And then after that, I'll end that stream and roll over to the stream with Loken. So that will probably be like 6 p.m. Eastern, like 5 p.m. my time. And then that'll go for however long. I might go a little even longer. And then on Saturday, I might actually be going even earlier. In the morning of Saturday, I might be playing some Star Citizen with Space Tomato. And then roll that into to Captain's Table. And then on Sunday, I don't know what I'll do. I may end up doing a League stream where, like, we do League of Relic Enthusiasts. We go out and do hunting, or just more Star Citizen. I've just got a lot of stuff though, so. Don't forget your Illuminati gifts. Yes, we'll talk about that here. Hey, Paul, next office hours. Curious to hear your thoughts on the upcoming Netflix series Rebel Moon. I want to do a special sci-fi movie Captain's Table before the end of the year, Night Cobb. So if you're available after Christmas, we'll talk. I kind of do that sort of thing, so we can get kind of sit down. I'll sit down with a couple of other folks, and we'll talk about various sci-fi movies and like the state of current sci-fi movies and series and what's coming up, that kind of stuff. Just for fun for Captain's Table. It's kind of a one-off. See if people like it. Yeah, because Rebel Moon's coming out, and then there's the new Babylon 5 series, which hasn't been fully announced yet. There's the there's the Gundam series on Netflix, which has been announced, which is coming soon. There's Dune Part 2, which is coming out in March. Or was it April? There's a lot of sci-fi stuff coming out. I have to go through a lot of it, but there's the rumor of the Stargate series, yeah. So, before I go, Nicholas, the gist is that the original creator of Babylon 5 wants to reboot Babylon 5 as a brand new idea. So it's not like a retread of all of Babylon 5, but it's Babylon 5 with new stories and characters and stuff like that. Kind of like a reimagined version of it. Kind of an alternate history version, as you will. But done by the original showrunner, who's trying to get them to get that done. So that's pretty cool. So if you're want to do a risk averse versus risk okay players and be able to guess on Captain's Table, we can talk about that. Yeah. J. Michael Straczynski, he got approval for it, and it's still kind of in the lurch because the people who own the rights to Babylon 5 are Warner Brothers. So if you know anything about what's the current state of Warner Brothers, you probably know how fucking in danger that is. So yeah, Babylon 5 without my outdated comforting. Oh yeah, there's also a new BGS that's been rebooted too. I keep forgetting about that. Not necessarily Sue happy. They just have this nasty habit of funding a series that's been written and produced and directed and edited and ready to go, and then fucking canceling it before it can be released because for tax write-off purposes. They do that. They've been doing that very recently. The guy who's currently in charge of Warner Brothers is an idiot. All right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out. But like I said, I'll be back tomorrow, probably around the same time. Do a little bit of Star Citizen, maybe do some 3.22 exploration stuff. I'll be back on Thursday for another office hours. Then on Friday we got a very long stream. We'll do it on the Astro Historian, and then we'll be doing some stuff with Loken for Rogue Trader. And then Saturday I'll be doing some more game stuff with office and Captain's Table with some folks. In fact, Captain's Table this coming week is the Nerdy Gentleman and Major Star Stuff. We'll be talking a little bit about 3.22. So, in general, what it's like and that kind of stuff. So, and then maybe we'll see on Sunday. I'm gonna have to move some stuff around, but it'll be a very long week. And I will say that next week, after that, I will be doing. I'll especially maybe next Wednesday, maybe next Thursday, probably next Thursday. I'm going to be doing a subathon towards the end of this month. To just kind of like hang out. So I might try this uncapped subathon thing or a high cap subathon where I'll go for a very long time and then pause, go to sleep, wake up, continue to stream, until I reach the maximum of 48 hours or whatever. Instead of just staying up 24 hours straight and streaming kind of thing. But yeah, love your faces. And like I say every day, hope to see you someday in the black. Let's find one somewhere to raid.